The Pennsylvania State University, College of Earth and Mineral Sciences, Department of Energy and Mineral Engineering presents the Proton Exchange Membrane Fuel Cell Laboratory Instructional Video. Equipment and materials. We will need a DC power supply, a variety of wires, distilled water, a beaker, and paper towels. The Proton Exchange Membrane Fuel Cell and Electrolyzer System, consisting of a proton exchange membrane electrolyzer, 2 proton exchange membrane fuel cells, a variable electronic load, a voltmeter and ammeter. Setup and testing. We'll begin by placing the electrolyzer on a paper towel and adding a small amount of distilled water to both the anode and cathode chambers. Do not fill these chambers completely, or they will overflow when gases are produced. We'll now connect the electrolyzer to the power supply. Be sure to connect the positive lead to the positive terminal and the negative lead to the negative terminal. We can now turn on the power supply, make sure that the voltage and current knobs are turned all the way down, and press the power button. Now, to set it to voltage control mode, we'll turn the current knob up several full turns to the right, and then slowly turn the voltage knob up until the voltage reading is 1.7. Do not exceed 2 volts or half an amp through the electrolyzer. 1.7 volts should be sufficient to see ample gas evolution from the electrolyzer. In order to force the air out of the system, we will vent the anode and cathode chambers, being sure not to allow the water to pass into the tubing. This is accomplished by opening the exhaust vent just long enough for the water to rise to the 0 mark on the electrolyzer and then closing it. This process needs to be repeated at least 3 times over a period of 10 to 20 minutes to ensure an ample amount of hydrogen and oxygen in each chamber. We'll briefly investigate the electrolysis process itself, disconnect the power supply, and reconnect the ammeter in series between the power supply and the electrolyzer. And connect the voltmeter in parallel across the electrolyzer. We'll now break the electrical circuit by disconnecting one lead from the ammeter circuit. Vent both the oxygen and hydrogen gas chambers until the water level is at 0 milliliters. Reconnect the electrical circuit and start the stopwatch. There should now be the electrolysis process occurring, and we can quantify the volume of gas collected. Allow the electrolyzer to run for 2 minutes. When this process is complete, disconnect the electrical circuit and record the volumes of hydrogen and oxygen generated by the electrolyzer. We can now disassemble the electric circuit and reconnect the electrolyzer directly to the power supply, bypassing the ammeter and voltmeter. We'll now begin wiring the fuel cell system itself. We'll connect the negative lead of the first fuel cell to the positive terminal of the second fuel cell. This process of stacking the fuel cells in series effectively adds the electric potential generated from each cell. We'll now connect the negative terminal of the fuel cell stack to the variable electronic load. connect the opposite terminal of the electronic load in series with the ammeter. We'll now complete the circuit by connecting the ammeter in series with the positive terminal of the fuel cell stack. We'll now connect the voltmeter in parallel with the fuel cell stack to measure the electric potential generated by both cells. Fuel cell operation, galvanic power generation. The electrolyzer will remain on during the entire fuel cell operation. The power supply, however, is in no electrical contact with the fuel cell stack itself. We'll begin the experiment by setting the variable electronic load to open circuit. This is a very high resistance setting. When the electric potential generated by the fuel cell stack reaches a steady state, we'll record both the voltage and the current. Then, we will change the variable electronic load to 100 ohms, wait approximately 30 to 60 seconds before taking the voltage and current reading. This process is to be repeated for every setting on the variable electronic load from high resistance to low resistance. Finally, we will short circuit the variable electronic load by disconnecting one terminal and plugging it directly into the opposite side. This will tell us our limiting current. Please record the current and potential at this point. The experimental phase is now over. We may power off and unplug the power supply and all of the surrounding wires. And please, before exiting the lab, refill the carboy with water and put away all equipment that was used.